My name is Naomi. I'm 25 years old. Behind my smile is a story of pain, silence, and the kind of moment that changes everything. At my sister's engagement party, my parents stood in front of everyone, family, friends, guests, and told them I was a failure. I sat there quietly, holding back tears, pretending their words didn't break me. The laughter around the table felt like knives, and I just wanted to disappear. But then, my sister's fiancé turned to me and said, "Wait, you're..." The room fell completely silent. Everyone stared at me, waiting. And in that moment, everything they thought they knew about me changed. Before I tell you what happened next, please like this video and comment below where you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And don't forget to subscribe, because the truth behind this moment will leave you speechless. The lights were soft gold, the music elegant, and laughter floated through the air like perfume. My sister's engagement party looked like something out of a movie, the kind where everything sparkles and everyone pretends to be perfect. I stood quietly in one corner, a glass of juice in my hand, watching my parents beam with pride as they introduced Clara and her fiancé Ethan to the crowd. They looked so happy, so proud. I wanted to feel happy for her too, and I was. But deep down, I already knew what was coming. My parents loved to make examples out of me. When the speeches began, my mom stepped onto the stage, holding the microphone with a glowing smile. "We are so proud of our daughter Clara," she said, her voice full of pride. "She's everything we hoped for, hardworking, successful, and soon to marry a wonderful man." Applause filled the hall. My chest felt tight, but I kept smiling. I'd learned long ago to stay still, no matter how much it hurt. Then she added, with that same sweet smile, "Of course, not everyone turns out like Clara." The laughter started softly, then grew louder as she continued. "Our older daughter, Naomi, is still trying to figure out what she wants to do in life, but we believe she'll find her way someday." I felt every pair of eyes in the room turn to me. My heart sank, but I didn't move. My father chuckled into the microphone and said, "Yes, we can't all be stars, can we?" More laughter. For a moment, all the air left my lungs. It wasn't the first time they'd done this, turning my quiet life into a joke. But this time, in front of hundreds of people, it hit differently. I could feel the pity in some guests' eyes and the smugness in others. I lowered my gaze and took a slow breath. I didn't want to cry. I'd promised myself I never would. Not for them. Not anymore. The music started again, and the crowd returned to chatting, but a few faces stayed fixed on me. Among them was Ethan's. He looked confused, not judging, not mocking, just thoughtful. After a few minutes, he walked over to where I was standing. My parents were nearby, still smiling for photos. He studied me for a second, his brow furrowing slightly. Then, in a calm but surprised tone, he said, "Wait, you're Naomi?" The way he said my name made everyone nearby turn their heads. The laughter, the music, even the chatter, it all faded into silence. I didn't know what to say. My parents froze. The air suddenly felt heavier, like the walls themselves were listening. And in that single moment, standing under the chandelier's golden light, I realized something. Tonight wasn't just my sister's engagement party. It was the night everything about our family's truth was about to change. People often think distance begins with one argument or one big fight, but in my family, it started quietly, with little words, little comparisons, and years of feeling invisible. When we were kids, Clara and I were close. We shared everything: clothes, secrets, even our dreams. But things changed when people began to notice her beauty and charm. Teachers praised her confidence. Relatives adored her laughter. My parents started saying things like, "Why can't you be more like Clara?" At first I tried. I joined school activities, tried to speak louder, tried to be seen. But no matter what I did, it was never enough. Clara could spill a drink and get a laugh. I could earn a scholarship and get a nod. By the time I was 18, I'd learned the pattern. Clara got celebration, I got silence. I didn't resent her. I just wanted peace. So when I finished school, I moved out with a small bag and an old laptop. My parents called it running away, I called it survival. The city wasn't kind at first. I slept in tiny rooms and took jobs that barely paid. I worked in a bookstore by day and studied coding at night. I didn't tell my family much because I knew what they'd say, that I was wasting time. But somewhere between those long nights and quiet mornings, I built something. I started freelancing, fixing websites, designing systems, and helping small businesses run better. Slowly, the jobs grew. My name started circulating online. Then one day, a company reached out, a big one. They needed someone to design a logistics system. I worked for weeks without rest, pouring everything I had into it. When the system launched, it didn't just work, it changed their entire operation. That one project led to another, and another. Within 3 years, I wasn't freelancing anymore. I had a registered business, clients in multiple countries, and a small but loyal team working under me. But I never bragged, not once. When my parents called, I let them think I was doing fine. When Clara posted pictures of her travels and promotions, I quietly liked them. I didn't need to compete. I just wanted to be left out of the race. Yet every family gathering turned into a reminder. My mom would say things like, "Naomi's still figuring things out," and Dad would laugh. Clara never corrected them. Maybe she thought silence was kindness. So when I walked into her engagement party that night, I wasn't there to impress anyone. I came to celebrate her, quietly, as always. But standing there, with their words echoing through the room, I felt something shift inside me. They didn't know me anymore. They had no idea who I'd become. And soon they were going to find out, not because I planned it, but because the truth has a way of revealing itself, even when you try to hide it. The silence after Ethan said my name felt endless. People were still smiling, holding glasses midair, but their laughter had faded. Even the band hesitated before the next song. My mom was the first to recover. She let out a light laugh, forced and shaky. "Oh, Ethan, yes, this is Naomi," she said quickly. "Our quiet one. She just does some small online work. Nothing fancy." The word small stung more than she realized. Ethan smiled politely, though his eyes lingered on me. "Oh? What kind of work?" Before I could answer, my dad joined in with a chuckle. "Just computer stuff. We don't even understand it ourselves." He waved his hand like it didn't matter. "She's always on that laptop of hers, probably scrolling." The guests laughed again, but Ethan didn't. He turned back to me, waiting for my response. I took a slow sip of my drink before speaking. "Consulting," I said simply. He tilted his head. "Consulting? For what field?" "Logistics," I replied. Something flickered across his face. Curiosity, maybe recognition. Before he could ask more, a tall man in a gray suit, one of the guests, turned from the buffet table. He looked at me for a long moment, then his eyes widened. "Wait," he said, walking closer. "Are you Naomi Adams?" My parents froze. I could feel their confusion. My mom tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Yes," I said quietly. The man blinked in disbelief. "The one who developed the ether system for Northlink?" Whispers rippled through the room. People began looking between us. I could hear my mom's nervous laugh again, softer this time. Well, she helps people sometimes," she said, her voice uncertain. But the man wasn't listening. He turned to Ethan. "You use her system, don't you? She's the one who streamlined your company's warehouse network last year." Ethan's eyes widened. He looked at me, then back at the man. "That was you?" I nodded. "Yes." For a few seconds, no one spoke. The entire room had gone still. The same people who laughed minutes ago now watched me like they were seeing a ghost. Ethan set his drink down slowly, his expression changing from curiosity to realization. "We've been trying to contact your company for months," he said softly, almost to himself. "And you're—" He looked at me again. "You're Clara's sister?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My parents stood frozen beside me. My father pale, my mother's smile trembling. The proud looks they wore all evening had vanished. Ethan straightened his suit, his tone polite but edged with disbelief. That's quite something. I nodded again and turned back toward my seat. The air around me felt heavy, but not with shame this time, with something sharper, quieter, and stronger. For once, I didn't feel like the invisible one in the room. I didn't need to speak loudly, argue, or prove anything. The truth had already started speaking for me. The music had stopped completely now. Guests whispered, exchanging glances. You could feel the energy in the room shift, from amusement to tension. Ethan was still standing in front of me, the disbelief in his eyes slowly melting into something else. Respect, maybe, confusion, a hint of guilt. The man in the gray suit was talking again, now addressing the crowd. Naomi Adams is the developer behind Ether Systems, one of the most successful logistics platforms in the region. Her software saved our company millions last year. Every word felt heavier than the last. My parents stood frozen beside the cake table, smiling weakly like people trying to wake up from a bad dream. I stayed where I was, calm, quiet, watching. I didn't need to explain anything. They were explaining it for me. My mother's hand trembled as she fixed her necklace. Well, she said with a shaky laugh, we knew Naomi was doing something online. We just never understood all these computer things. No one laughed this time. Ethan's business partner, a tall woman in a navy dress, joined the conversation. Ethan, didn't your company try to book a consultation with Ether Systems last quarter? You said the founder was impossible to reach? Ethan turned to her slowly. Yes, we sent several proposals. He looked back at me. And all this time, it was you. I nodded gently. The silence that followed was unlike anything I'd ever felt. My parents' faces said everything. Years of judgment and pride collapsing in seconds. My dad's voice broke the quiet. Naomi, why didn't you tell us? I turned toward him, meeting his eyes for the first time that night. Because you never asked, I said softly. A few people gasped. My mom's smile disappeared completely. Ethan rubbed his forehead, then looked at my parents. You told everyone she was a failure? His tone wasn't angry, just stunned. My mother opened her mouth but couldn't find the words. My father tried to speak, but nothing came out. The weight of their own words had caught up with them. Guests were still murmuring, taking out their phones, whispering names. Some looked at me with admiration, others with pity. But for the first time in my life, none of it mattered. Ethan's voice softened. Naomi, your work changed how our company operates. I didn't realize you were part of this family. Neither did they, I replied quietly. The sentence hung in the air like smoke. I could see Clara out of the corner of my eye, her smile trembling, her gaze darting between me and Ethan. She wasn't used to being in the background, not like this. My mom finally said, almost whispering, Naomi, we didn't mean to embarrass you. I gave a small smile, polite, but distant. It's fine, Mom. I'm used to it. But everyone could see. It wasn't fine. The music never came back on. The laughter never returned. For the rest of the evening, people treated me differently, carefully, respectfully. And for the first time, my parents didn't know where to look when someone mentioned my name. That night, under the glittering lights of my sister's engagement, their perfect image cracked, and the truth stepped out quietly, wearing my name. The party ended earlier than planned. People left in small groups, whispering as they passed by me. Some smiled politely, others looked uncomfortable. My parents stayed near the exit, pretending to say goodnight, their faces stretched into awkward smiles that didn't reach their eyes. I stayed behind for a while, helping one of the waiters stack plates. I wasn't in a hurry to leave. I needed time to breathe, to understand what had just happened. When the last few guests were gone, I turned to leave, but my mom's voice stopped me. Naomi, she said softly. I turned. She was standing beside my father, her makeup smudged, her posture smaller than usual. We didn't know, she whispered. If we had known. I let her words fade. I'd heard versions of that sentence before. If we had known, we wouldn't have said this. If we had known, we would have treated you better. The truth was simple. They did know who I was. They just never cared enough to look beyond their idea of me. My father cleared his throat. You should have told us, he said, his tone unsure. I met his gaze. And would that have changed anything? He said nothing. Clara appeared behind them, holding Ethan's hand. She looked pale, like she'd seen a reflection of herself she didn't recognize. Naomi, she said gently, Ethan told me what your company does. I didn't know you were that successful. I smiled faintly. It's fine, Clara. You don't have to apologize for believing what they told you. Ethan stepped forward slightly, his expression sincere. For what it's worth, I respect you deeply. What you built? It's remarkable. Thank you, I said, and I meant it. My mom reached out, touching my arm hesitantly. We're proud of you, Naomi. Truly. I stepped back gently. Mom, you don't have to say that now. Tonight wasn't about proving anything. Her lips trembled. My father looked away. The silence between us felt heavier than the music that once filled the room. I picked up my bag and glanced toward the doorway. I think I should go. It's been a long night. As I walked past them, my mom's voice cracked again. Naomi, please don't distance yourself from us. I paused for a moment but didn't turn around. I didn't distance myself, I said softly. You pushed me away years ago. And then I walked out. The night air was cool and quiet. The street outside shimmered with reflections of city lights, and for the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. My phone buzzed as I reached the car. Message after message from my parents. Apologies, promises, excuses. I stared at the screen for a while, then turned it off. I didn't need their validation anymore. I had already found my worth, quietly, far away from their approval. As I drove away, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the mirror. I didn't look like a failure. I looked like someone who had survived, rebuilt, and finally stopped needing to be seen to know she mattered. And that was enough. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more.